During the Dark Ages, a period of chaotic warfare emerging from the fall of the Roman Empire, Britain itself becomes an independent nation led by the great king Uther Pendragon. Under him serves a young yet talented magus, Merlin, known for the accuracy of his prophecies. Uther, while a valiant king in his own right, has an unhealthy love for Igraine, the wife of his retainer, Gorlo, the Duke of Cornwall. This is to be Uther's undoing, as he and the Duke become enemies. Lusting for Igraine, wanting her to bear his rightful heir, Uther turns to Merlin for assistance. The magus uses his power to disguise Uther as Gorlo, so that he may infiltrate enemy territory and romance Igraine. Merlin arranges so that the child they conceive that night be born with the essence of a dragon, imbued with immense mana. Uther, soon to be the father of an illegitimate child, a girl at that, is told by Merlin that the child is prophesized to be the once and future king of Britain, despite her sex. Because Uther cannot publicly raise a female heir, Merlin is granted custody over the child and vows to raise her properly. This separation from the castle is but one of the events he foretold after all. This child, Artoria, is put in care of a knight, Sir Ector, who begins to notice an aura of kingship from her. Honoring this, he raises her as a proper knight. While Artoria has a magical affinity for dragons, she finds herself more connected to lions after she raises a lion cub for a month. Since early childhood, Artoria acknowledges that she must become a strong king and works diligently as a squire to Sir Kay during her upbringing until the prophesied day comes, the selection of Britain's next king. The event is designed as a competition since, publicly, Uther had no heir to the throne. The challenge? Be the first to draw the sacred magical sword Caliburn from its stone. All of the knights and lords fail to remove the blade, as it was made to be drawn only by the true heir from Merlin's prophecy. Artoria, at the age of 15, arrives to take the sword and ascend the throne, but is first stopped by Merlin, who warns her that by drawing Caliburn, she would no longer be human. Already prepared for that, Artoria claims the throne and leaves behind any hope of leading a normal life. From then on, she stopped aging. Artoria is not the only child birthed by Igraine. After she marries Uther, she has a second daughter, Morgan Le Fay, who is publicly recognized as Uther's proper daughter. Despite this, she views her sister Artoria as the favorite, and is plagued with envy. During Artoria's rule, her ominous aura gathers many who find her divine. She conceals her sex so that none can question her rule. In truth, she hardly views herself as a woman. She had cast that aside to pursue kingship. She is accompanied by the Knights of the Round Table, including famous knights such as Sir Lancelot, Bedivere, and Gawain, who also serve as her closest friends. The table itself represents equality between king and her subjects, and her fair law becomes the foundation of her kingdom. In battle, she always leads from the front lines, earning steady victory without ever looking back. As a formal gesture, Artoria takes Lady Guinevere as her wife, so that her kingdom may have both king and queen. Despite this, she realizes that her wife Guinevere actually loves Lancelot. Knowing this, she allows the two of them to court in secrecy. Following tradition, it becomes a problem that Artoria cannot create a biological heir with Guinevere. Merlin accomplishes this task by using his magic to temporarily make Artoria a pseudo-male, capable of producing sperm. To his own fault, Merlin has a history of being a womanizer, and is seduced by Morgan Le Fay during this time. Morgan sneaks in, enchants Artoria, and steals some of her sperm, which she would cultivate in her own womb. With this conception, Morgan gives birth to a clone of Artoria, named Mordred. Morgan hopes to eventually have Mordred steal the throne, but her identity is kept secret until she is old enough. Once Mordred is told about her identity, she confronts Artoria, demanding to be recognized as heir to the throne. She's rejected, and the admiration she had for her king turns to malice. Morgan Le Fay fully succumbs to her hatred of her sister, such that Gaia, the will of the planet to survive, transforms her into a phantasmal creature, a fairy. alongside another fairy to serve as a counterpoint. This opposing being is Vivian, the Lady of the Lake. During battle, Artoria's sacred sword, Caliburn, is broken, and her travels ultimately lead her to Vivian, who, as opposed to Morgan, has a desire to assist Artoria. As a powerful fairy who ascended to becoming an elemental, Vivian can access the planet's natural forces to create noble phantasms. She uses this ability to create the sword Excalibur and its scabbard, Avalon, for Artoria. The sword is capable of turning Artoria's mana into luminescent heat, while the scabbard grants her immortality. With these weapons, Artoria continues to win battle after battle, and, despite her strength as a king, begins losing support from those who were convinced that she did not understand human feelings. Her near-perfect rule starts to be interpreted as inhuman. Much of this is pressured by Sir Agravain, who continually pointed out her inhuman nature. In truth, Agravain is actually an assassin hired by Morgan Le Fay to be part of the Knights of the Round Table, acting in secrecy. Despite this ulterior motive, he sees Artoria as a king worthy of his servitude, even when working for Morgan and Mordred. Mordred, upset by Artoria's rejection, schemes to sabotage the king's reign by discovering a weakness. She has Agravain investigate Artoria, who in turn learns of the affair between Guinevere and Lancelot. Mordred exposes the affair, revealing it to the public. She attempts to take them into custody, but Lancelot is able to escape, leaving Guinevere in captivity. With such a harsh infraction exposed to the public, Artoria's subjects look to her to deliver punishment upon Guinevere. Artoria must either have Guinevere burned at the stake, or compromise the just laws her rule is founded upon. With little option, Artoria schedules Guinevere to be burned, but intentionally leaves only a small force to guard her. By doing so, she hopes that Lancelot will come to Guinevere's rescue. Unable to reveal her secret motive behind the execution, Artoria allows Sir Gawain's two brothers to guard Guinevere one last time. On the day of the execution, Lancelot arrives and murders all who stand between him and his lover. He successfully rescues Guinevere, leaving Sir Gawain enraged at the loss of his brethren. He demands that Artoria and her army pursue Lancelot for his misdeeds. Again, unable to compromise the laws of her kingdom, Artoria and her forces set out to capture him. While Artoria is away, her treasured scabbard, Avalon, is stolen by an unknown thief, and Mordred takes the opportunity to claim the throne for herself. In order to reclaim the throne, Artoria abandons her hunt for Lancelot and returns to face Mordred in her last fight, the Battle of Camlann. Artoria's forces are outmatched by those who sided with Mordred, and without Avalon at her side, her fate is sealed. Artoria manages to defeat Mordred by spearing her through the chest, but is also dealt a fatal strike. The outcome could not be called a victory for either party, and Britain would ultimately fall to ruin. Artoria, on the verge of death, strikes a deal with the world. She offers herself as a heroic spirit to the throne of heroes, in exchange for the chance to covet the Holy Grail and use its power to redo her days as king, and, in turn, save her country. Now a heroic spirit, Artoria is summoned into the Saber class by Kiritsugu Emiya and Irisveal to participate in the Fourth Holy Grail War. At first, she finds Kiritsugu's goal of world peace to be admirable, but is ultimately disgusted by his deceitful methods as an assassin. While she fights admirably to win the Grail, she is shocked to discover that one of her opponents, Berserker, reveals himself to be Sir Lancelot, now enraged by the guilt Artoria cultivated in him for allowing his affair with Guinevere. Artoria's spirit is shattered upon seeing her best knight and friend suffer so fervently. Sticking to her goal of obtaining the Grail, she slays Lancelot and reaches her final battle. At the finish line, she finds herself at a standstill against Gilgamesh and is ordered by Kiritsugu to use her remaining mana to destroy the Grail. For her, it was the ultimate betrayal. At this point, her desire to revisit her time as king changes into a desire to redo the selection of the king entirely and have someone else ascend the throne in her place. She no longer feels worthy. As fate would have it, she is summoned into the next Grail War by Kiritsugu's adopted son, Shiro. During the war, Artoria's pride as a warrior clashes with Shiro's selflessness. Their endeavor together prompts Artoria to reconsider her reign as king, to accept what had happened and move on. Furthermore, Shiro probes her to confront her choice to become king and the life as a normal girl she left behind. They fall in love amidst the war's chaos, and after discovering the Grail's corrupt true nature, the two of them destroy it, and Artoria's spirit returns to her dying body in Camelot. In her final living moments, Artoria has Sir Bedivere return Excalibur to the Lady of the Lake before silently dying beneath a tree. Having come to terms with her reign, she can now find peace, and her spirit makes its way to Avalon, a paradise where only the king may go in the afterlife, a place existing in a special layer of the world called the Reverse Side of the World, a place where phantasmal species and beings from the Age of Gods reside. After endlessly waiting, she is joined in this paradise by her love, Shiro, and their spirits are eternally united. I hope you enjoyed this new type of lore video. If you liked it, please consider supporting us on Patreon, and subscribe to Otaku Daikun for more anime lists, reviews, discussions, lore videos, let's plays, and more. Until next time, celebrate your fandom.